Thursday, May 3rd, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I'll be looking at the markets this morning, what the Fed did yesterday, and also I'm going to be looking at The Law. A great book. I highly recommend. It's not a very long book, and I'll put a link below in the description if you want to buy it on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it elsewhere as well. So The Law is written by Bastiat, and it says the classic blueprint for a just society. And the reason I'm going to talk about this book today is because we have local elections in the UK. So before I go into The Law, though, let's have a look at the Fed, what the Fed did. I like to look at what Zero Hedge comes up with. I think they're quite balanced. I know sometimes they can clickbait. Zero Hedge says is Wall Street responds to the Fed symmetric dovish statement. So that's what the markets look these days. It's not even at what the Fed does, but at what they say. It's a totally manipulated market, of course. But the most interesting part of the meeting and the statement is this, and I read from the article. It says, the most notable reaction to the FOMC statement was the instant knee-jerk plunge in the US dollar. As noted moments ago, widely attributed to the Fed's elimination of the entire sentence that, and I quote, the economic outlook has strengthened in recent months, despite what was clearly a hawkish take on inflation and the Fed's hint it is willing to overshoot on inflation. So it looks like the Fed is kind of, trying to play both sides. They're a bit concerned about, I guess, interest rates rising. That's why they took out that statement about strengthening economic outlook. But at the same time, they're saying, oh, we're trying to fight inflation. So Fed is uncertain, and I think they are concerned about interest rates. And interest rates have kind of they're still pretty stable. The 10-year is still below 3%, is at 297. And the 2-year note yield, that's dropped from 250 yesterday to 248.20. It doesn't seem much, but psychologically it is important, because if it had gone through 250, the Fed would have looked a bit silly, in my opinion. But anyway, let's have a look at what we're doing this morning. It's a little later than usual. It's just before 9 o'clock. We've got spot gold at 1309.30, up 4.5. Range has been 1304 to 1310.70. So we're near the highs. Silver is at 1644, up 7. And we're right near the highs. The range has been 1635 to 1647. I've noted that we're just below 80 in the gold-silver ratio. And that's in spite of silver having outperformed. So silver is still really undervalued relative to gold. The Dow is unchanged, virtually up only 4 points, the future, 23,929. S&P is down 1/4 point, so nothing to write home about there. And the NASDAQ 100 future is unchanged. Yesterday, of course, the stock market did not perform well. The Dow dropped 174 points, or 0.7%. So did the S&P, down 19 points, or 0.72%. NASDAQ didn't do as badly. It was down 0.4%. But the technical picture is still not looking good for the Dow. That top from January is still looking like a good top. I think in terms of support right now, immediate support, I would say 23,750 is quite important. And after that, of course, we've got around 23,300. That's the key support. If we break that, we could see a big leg lower in the stock market. What about the currencies? Yeah, the dollar initially, as the article said, dumped after the FOMC statement. And then actually it rallied. Gold also popped up to like 13.12, and then the dollar rallied and the gold and the currencies came back down. But this morning, the currencies are back up. So people usually say in the markets, the first reaction to an announcement or a statistic or a data is usually what you have to keep in mind for the longer term. So right now, pound is back above 136, still below long-term support. It's up 1/3%, or up 42 pips. The euro is up almost 0.5%, just above 120. And the dollar is down about 0.2% at 109.64 against the yen. So the dollar weakening a bit this morning. So let's go and look at the book. As I said, I'll put a link below. It's on Amazon, The Law by Frederick Bastiat. And of course, today is the local election in the UK. Am I going to vote? No. If Ron Paul was running for local council, I would go and vote for him. But I got literature in the post from both sides of the political aisle, and none of them, I don't want to legitimize what they do, what politics does these days. They don't protect the individual. They protect the collective. It's the tyranny of the majority. They use the law to actually take from people, which is, in my opinion, immoral, and that's what this book talks about. And it's really common sense, because would you go as an individual, take something from a friend to give to another friend without asking? No, it's wrong. It's theft. So why would we accept that the state and the people who are supposed to administer the law use that power to actually take from other people to give to others? That's immoral, and that's why I don't vote, unless it's Ron Paul, because Ron Paul, he doesn't want that. He's not a collectivist. He wants the protection of the individual rights. So as Benjamin Franklin said, after he came out of the Constitutional Convention, the story goes that there were two ladies that were outside and asked Mr. Franklin, what have we got? A monarchy? And he said, no, you've got a republic if you can keep it. And I would argue that the US did not keep the republic for long, and we definitely don't have a republic. We have a tyranny of the majority now everywhere in the world. So the law. I'll read a little bit about the author, Frederick Bastiat. It says, Wikipedia says, Claude Frederick Bastiat was a French economist and author who was a prominent member of the French liberal school. And by liberal, they don't mean socialist at all. So he lived from 1801 to 1850. One of his comments that he made that has become famous is the broken window fallacy. And what is that? Well, that's when you have natural disasters, and Keynesian economists usually and politicians say, oh, that's going to be good for the economy because we're going to be able to rebuild. But they don't look at the costs to the people who have been struck by the disaster. So it's the broken window fallacy. I'm going to read a few excerpts from this book. Right in the beginning, this is what Bastiat says: the law perverted, and the police powers of the states perverted along with it. The law, I say, not only turned from its proper purpose, but made to follow an entirely contrary purpose. The law become the weapon of every kind of greed. Instead of checking crime, the law itself guilty of the evils it is supposed to punish. If this is true, it is a serious fact, and moral duty requires me to call the attention of my fellow citizens to it. And he goes on to say, life is a gift from God. I know a lot of people might say, oh, I don't believe in God, but you could translate that to life is a gift from nature if you want to. He says, we hold from God or nature the gift which includes all others. This gift is life, physical, intellectual, and moral life. But life cannot maintain itself alone. The creator of life has entrusted us with the responsibility of preserving, developing, and perfecting it. In order that we may accomplish this, he has provided us with a collection of marvelous faculties, and he has put us in the midst of a variety of natural resources. By the application of our faculties to these natural resources, we convert them into products and use them. This process is necessary in order that life may run its appointed course. So it's basically saying that we've been provided with everything on the planet, and that we've been given faculties to take advantage of it. And the important part is here, it says life, faculties, and production. In other words, individuality, liberty, property. This is man. Or you could say women nowadays as well. And in spite of the cunning, artful political leaders, these three gifts from God or from nature precede all human legislation and are superior to it. So what he's saying here is that it wasn't human legislature and parliaments or congresses that devised these the natural state of things. It comes from nature, from God. There's another interesting excerpt here. He says, socialists want to play God. So he goes on to say, socialists look upon people as raw material to be formed into social combinations. This is so true that if by chance the socialists have any doubts about the success of these combinations, they will demand that a small portion of mankind be set aside to experiment upon. The popular idea of trying all systems is well known, and one socialist leader has been known seriously to demand that the Constituent Assembly give him a small district with all its inhabitants to try his experiment upon. So yeah, basically he's saying that socialists or Democrats or conservatives, because they are all the same, they think the state is all powerful. They think they know better than the individual, and that's why they have to be in charge. One other interesting quote from Bastiat, and I'll end here, is that he said that the state is the great fiction by which people think they can live at the expense of everyone else. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share it far and wide. We need to get these ideas out there, so if you share it with as many social media platforms, the better. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and you can also follow me on steemit.com, DTube, and on Twitter, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.